Environment and social work. Environment and social work. Concept. Environment refers to the natural and built surroundings that affect human life, including air, water, land, flora, fauna, and human-made structures. Environmental issues such as pollution, climate change, deforestation, and natural disasters have direct impacts on human well-being, particularly affecting marginalized and vulnerable populations. Social work is a profession committed to social justice, human rights, and the empowerment of individuals and communities. The profession acknowledges that a safe and sustainable environment is fundamental to human well-being. Thus, the concept of environment in social work emphasizes the interdependence between humans and their environment, the role of social workers in promoting sustainable development, advocacy for environmental justice and the rights of affected communities, integrating ecological concerns into social work practice, policy, and education. Environmental social work, also known as eco-social work, expands the traditional scope of social work to include environmental sustainability, climate justice, disaster risk reduction, community resilience. Objectives of environment and social work. The main objectives focus on empowering individuals and communities to address environmental challenges. The 6 core objectives are 1. Awareness. To create awareness among individuals and communities about environmental issues such as pollution, climate change, deforestation, and biodiversity loss. Social workers help communities understand how environmental degradation affects their daily lives, health, and livelihoods. Awareness programs may include campaigns, workshops, and community mobilization. 2. Knowledge. To provide accurate and relevant information about environmental laws, sustainable practices, and ecological systems. This includes knowledge about the causes and consequences of environmental problems and potential solutions. Social workers act as educators, sharing knowledge tailored to the needs of different populations. 3. Attitude change. To foster a positive attitude toward the environment and encourage respect for nature. Changing mindsets is crucial to shift from exploitative to sustainable practices. Social workers engage in behavior change communication and values-based education to influence public opinion and individual behavior. 4. Skill development. To equip individuals and communities with the necessary skills to address environmental challenges. Skills may include waste management, conservation techniques, disaster preparedness, organic farming, and advocacy strategies. Capacity building workshops and vocational training are key components. 5. Participation. To promote active participation of individuals, especially marginalized groups, in environmental planning, decision-making, and action. Social work encourages community-based initiatives like watershed management, forest protection, and urban cleanliness drives. Participation ensures that local knowledge and needs are included in environmental programs. 6. Scientific utilization. To promote the responsible and scientific use of natural resources for sustainable development. Social workers encourage communities to adopt environmentally sound technologies, e.g., solar energy, biogas, rainwater harvesting. This also involves guiding local governments and institutions to make informed, evidence-based environmental policies. Environmental degradation. Definition. Environmental degradation refers to the deterioration of the natural environment due to the depletion of resources such as air, water, and soil, the destruction of ecosystems, and the extinction of wildlife. It occurs when the Earth's natural resources are consumed faster than they can be replenished, or when pollutants and human activities harm the environment beyond its capacity to recover. Causes of environmental degradation. 1. Pollution. Pollution is the introduction of harmful substances into the environment, air, water, and soil, which negatively affects living organisms and ecosystems. Common types include air pollution, e.g., vehicle emissions, water pollution, e.g., industrial waste, and soil pollution, e.g., chemical pesticides. 2. Population explosion. Rapid population growth increases demand for land, water, food, and energy, leading to overexploitation of natural resources. It puts enormous pressure on waste management, sanitation, and environmental conservation efforts. 3. Industrialization. Industrial activities release large amounts of toxic waste, gases, and effluents into the environment. Industrialization often leads to resource extraction, habitat destruction, and air and water pollution. 4. Increasing urbanization. Urban expansion consumes agricultural land and forests, leading to loss of green cover and natural habitats. It also increases vehicular traffic, construction waste, and pressure on water and energy supplies. 5. Defective agricultural policies. Overuse of chemical fertilizers and pesticides damages soil quality and pollutes water sources. Monoculture cropping and excessive groundwater extraction are also environmentally unsustainable. 6. Poverty and unemployment, UB. Poor communities often rely heavily on natural resources for survival, leading to overuse and degradation. Lack of alternative livelihoods forces unsustainable practices like illegal logging, slash-and-burn farming, and unregulated mining. 7. Deforestation. The large-scale clearing of forests reduces biodiversity and disrupts ecological balance. It also contributes to climate change by reducing carbon absorption capacity and increasing greenhouse gas emissions. Consequences of environmental degradation. 1. Impact on life. Human health is severely affected by polluted air, water, and soil, e.g., respiratory diseases, waterborne infections. Environmental degradation also threatens the survival of animal and plant species. 2. Loss of biodiversity, habitat destruction, pollution, and climate change lead to the extinction of species and loss of genetic diversity. This weakens ecosystems and their ability to adapt to environmental changes. 3. Economic impact. Degradation affects agricultural productivity, fisheries, and tourism, leading to income loss. It increases public health costs and reduces access to clean water and resources, especially for poor communities. 4. Ozone layer depletion. Certain pollutants like chlorofluorocarbons, CFCs, damage the ozone layer, which protects the Earth from harmful ultraviolet, UV, rays. Ozone depletion increases health risks like skin cancer, cataracts, and also harms marine ecosystems. Differential impact of environment. Environmental challenges do not affect all people equally. Factors such as gender, class, caste, ethnicity, and location shape how individuals and communities experience environmental degradation and climate change. This is known as the differential impact of environment, a concept that highlights environmental injustice and inequality. 1. Differential impact on women. Women, especially in rural areas, are primary caregivers and are largely responsible for collecting water, fuelwood, and food. Environmental degradation increases their workload and physical burden as resources become scarce. Climate change and disasters often affect women's health, nutrition, and personal security more severely due to existing gender inequalities. Women have less access to land, credit, education, and decision-making, making them more vulnerable to environmental changes. 2. Differential impact on the poor. Poor communities are more likely to live in environmentally fragile areas such as floodplains, slums, or drought-prone regions. They have limited resources and adaptive capacity to deal with environmental hazards like pollution, droughts, or cyclones. The poor face higher risks of displacement, food insecurity, and loss of livelihood due to environmental degradation. Environmental policies often exclude the poor from decision-making, further marginalizing them. 3. Impact of environment on the poor in India. In India, environmental issues like air and water pollution, land degradation, deforestation, and climate change disproportionately affect the poor. Urban slum dwellers suffer from poor sanitation, waste accumulation, and industrial pollution. Rural poor face challenges such as loss of agricultural productivity due to soil erosion, droughts, and erratic rainfall. Many poor in India depend on natural resources for livelihood, e.g. farming, fishing, forest produce, which are directly impacted by environmental changes. Health problems due to pollution, e.g., in Delhi or Kanpur, affect the poor most, as they lack access to quality healthcare. 4. Differential impact on marginalized groups. Marginalized groups such as Dalits, Adivasis, landless laborers, and migrant workers often face environmental risks due to their limited access to clean resources, safe housing, and secure employment. Displacement caused by development projects, dams, mining, highways, often affects these communities without adequate compensation or rehabilitation. These groups have less political power, making it difficult to influence environmental decisions that affect their lives. 5. Differential impact on indigenous people. Indigenous people, Adivasis in India, have a deep cultural and spiritual connection with the natural environment. Environmental degradation, deforestation, and resource extraction, like mining, disrupt their traditional lifestyles, livelihoods, and ancestral lands. Development policies often fail to recognize their customary rights and traditional knowledge systems. Indigenous communities are among the first to experience climate-related disruptions, yet their voices are rarely included in environmental governance. Environment in the human rights perspective. An interrelationship between environment and human rights. A clean, healthy, and sustainable environment is fundamental to the enjoyment of basic human rights such as right to life, right to health, right to water and sanitation, right to food, right to shelter. Degradation of the environment can lead to violations of these rights, particularly for vulnerable populations. B. International recognition. Stockholm Declaration, 1972 first to link human rights with environmental protection. UN Resolution, 2022 recognized the right to a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment as a universal human right. See Indian constitutional provisions. Article 21, Right to Life, has been interpreted by the Supreme Court to include the right to a healthy environment. Article 48A, Directive Principle the state shall protect and improve the environment. Article 51A G, Fundamental duty every citizen must protect the environment. Role of courts in environmental protection. Judicial activism. Indian judiciary, especially the Supreme Court and High Courts, have played a proactive role in expanding the scope of environmental protection through public interest litigations, PILs. B. Landmark judgments. MC Mehta vs. Union of India, Ganga pollution, oleum gas leak, etc. pioneering PILs that led to environmental jurisprudence. Vellore Citizens Welfare Forum vs. Union of India, 1996. Introduced precautionary principle and polluter pays principle. Subhash Kumar vs. State of Bihar, 1991. Declared that the right to a pollution-free environment is part of Article 21. See National Green Tribunal, NGT. Established under the NGT Act, 2010. Specializes in adjudicating environmental cases efficiently and effectively.
Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. See you in next video.